G'day, Dr. Tony here with the Realms of Power podcast. And today I'm joined by the amazing Chris Chuc. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
Mate, it's so good that you're down here. And our Realms of Power podcast, for those tuning in for the first time, is all about turning your tap on or your true aligned power. And with that, we've gone for 4 different areas, having that authenticity of yourself. So being authentic is the thing that I think a lot of people miss out on. They do what someone else tells them to do, that sort of thing. And part of what we're going to be discussing today comes up right under that topic, I think. Then it's doing more of what you love doing. A lot of people, again, are just stuck in a rut of doing the things they have to do, not doing what they really, truly love to do. And that can create and give you ultimate freedom. The 4th one we've gone through as well, mate, which is right up your alley, is never needing to work again. Or feeling like you're not doing something that, you don't want to be doing. And if you can be getting paid for doing stuff you love doing, well, I guess that's the ultimate. So, yeah, that's what we've been going for. What I'd like to do for our listeners is introduce you in a way that gives them a bit of background of how you're going to be sharing some of your messaging today. So, yeah, can you go back into your background? What's led you to where you are now in your professional life?
Yeah, when I came out of school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But one thing that carried through from my early teenage years was connecting with people. I loved it. I was always the person there having a yarn, checking in on people. And I was really, passionate about helping people become their best selves. And I looked at this through my sporting, I would say career, but it was my adventures through sport. I loved seeing and helping and training others as well. So when I left school, I came out and I was like, I just wanted to get involved with people. And I'll never forget this moment and this amazing lady. Her name's Ginny, and she's a really good friend of my mum's. And she gave me my first step into the corporate world.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I'm, as you know, big mentors in your life really carry and help you progress. And she, by far, really helped me. So when I came out of school, I was working at Athlete Sport, selling shoes. I had a great mentor there as well. His name was Anthony, and he helped me a lot to progress, not just as a shoe salesman, but as a person too. And then pretty much when I was about 20, Ginny gave me a shot in the corporate world, working in recruitment and a bit of HR as well. Yeah, I did not have the qualifications. I didn't have any experience at all, but she must have seen, I guess, something, or that led me into, as a 20-year-old, I was sitting in a big office working with amazing people that had all this experience. And it actually brought up a lot of imposter syndrome and a lot of uncertainty for me. It was the first time in my life that I had to either lean into it or kind of scurry and run away. Now, in that moment, I didn't know that. It was actually only on reflection now when I look, it was a pivotal moment in my life. And that's why I thank Ginny a lot. Because I think it was about 2 to 3 years working in the corporate world. We were working with big engineering firms and we were helping build teams. So I was doing what I loved, engaging with people. We were always on the phone, speaking every day and helping other businesses build the best teams for them.
So can I just ask about that? Because there was something you said about the imposter syndrome. And really, people do run that. And in the moment, they might not realize they're running it. And in reflection, they can look back. But you still chose to stand in your power through your mentor's guidance. And she must have seen something in you. Yeah. And was there a moment where you, like you said, you just went with it and trusted yourself to stand in your power?
Yeah. It was probably about 3 to 4 weeks into the job. And, she opened the door, but I had another fantastic mentor there. His name was Emil, and he was my direct report. And he was so full of energy and full of can-do-it attitude. And it was in a moment where I had to actually turn up to a meeting instead of him to talk to a general manager of it was a mining firm, right? So it was like big things, and I'm a 20-year kid, no experience. And he wasn't able to jump on the call. So he said, like, hey, Chris, you have to do this. Instantly, you curl up. You're like, oh, no, I've never done this before. I'm only 3 to 4 weeks in. I don't have experience. He really believed in me. It pushed me, to actually pick the phone up, have that call. It was that moment that he was able to unlock that for me. And it has helped me so much. And there's many cases of that as my career went through the corporate world, that having a great mentor like him helped me lean into that uncertainty.
So that sounds like a real key, having the right mentor. And when you're just trying to do it yourself, you independent or independence, but there's that word interdependence, which is really just about leaning into the fact that you don't know it all and allowing the power of those other people to help lift you up becomes an interdependent society. Turning your power on really fits into that realm, I believe. Yes, we can be in our individual power, but whether it's in a family or it's in corporate, you in that moment really had that. There's a lot of people, though, that have that uncertainty about allowing a mentor into their life. Your experience shows the opposite. What would you say to that?
I wouldn't be where I am now, sitting in this room with you, without the fantastic mentors I've had. It's just been so fascinating to look back. I really approach life pretty differently, I guess, is I just look for as many mentors as possible. I've downloaded as much information as I could, and I'd use that to help the people in my life. If I sat here, I wouldn't have time to go through all the mentors I've had. But to help answer your question, as I went through the corporate world, I got to the end. Then one of my great mentors, it's part of my family as well, is Saf. As you know Saf really well.
Yeah.
Who introduced me to the whole chiropractic world and started to teach me what chiropractic was. Not every chiropractor was like Saf or something like that. He really helped me see that there is an opportunity for me to maybe change my career a bit. So I was going through and I thought I would be in the corporate world forever. He showed me that, hey, there's some things that you might be able to help us over here. And there's some people that I know, you should give this a shot. And again, this is another chapter in my life where I curled up. Now I'm now used to this corporate world.
Yep.
I'm not that person. But he really sat down and instilled that confidence in me to take this shot. And it's a pattern in my life. So to answer your question, it's one of the hardest things to actually sit down in front of someone and go, I don't know it. I need help here.
Yep.
I need help. And I wasn't perfect at it either. In the beginning, you come out, you're a young male, you've got some testosterone, you think you know it all, and you get into the big wild world, and sometimes it slaps you in the face. I'm telling you now, I got slapped a few times, and looking back, it's every big moment that's happened in my life, I'm so grateful because it was a mentor or someone that maybe believed in me or guided me to get me through that chapter.
I've heard before, asking for help is a learnt skill. So it's not natural, especially for men typically. Asking for help rather than I know it all. But look at where it's got you. I've got to ask, Chris, how old are you now?
I just got asked this question this morning. And I always say to people, everyone thinks I'm older than I am all the time. So I'm only 26.
Yeah. Mate, what you've achieved as a young 26-year-old, people should be lit up listening to that. And you've got there through allowing yourself to ask for help, allowing yourself to be open to mentors. And that's created such power in you and such passion. Tell me more about the passion. You said you're just lit up by this stuff.
I am one of the most passionate people, and it's the people around me are always vibrating at a certain level that I just want to keep going with them. So I intentionally surround myself with people that I know 10 times smarter than me, maybe doing something that I have no idea about. And my mantra to myself is every time I step into the room, I get on a phone call, I get on a Zoom, I go into a practice, I'm like, what can I learn? What can I learn? And that, like you said, is a learned skill that in my opinion, if people just stop doing what they're doing and they learn how to ask great questions and then this is the next part, listen to it and then implement it because there's the stages there, right? You can ask the question, but if you just ignore the advice, then what's the point of asking the question? If you can get those steps set up, whether you're a practice owner, whether you own a business, whether you're an associate, whether you're in a completely different industry, this will carry across. It is incredible. And I always say to people that I could sit in a room and let's use this room as an example, right? How many years experience do you have in the chiropractic space?
25 years.
Amazing. So I could sit down here and ask you questions in an hour and then tap into 25 years of experience. And when if I travel Australia and then speak to as many people with that experience, then I can take that and then deliver it to the people that I can help so we can all move together and we grow together.
Yeah.
And that's so important to me.
So good. Well, look, you've got to tell me more about, and the listeners are just being, I'm excited, just about what your business is now, because I think this will relate to how we can turn people's power on, whether they're in that industry, like we said, or not.
Yeah.
Tell me about your business now. What's the setup? What do you do? What do you focus on?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So it's been an evolution. When you start a business, you always think it's going to go really well straight away. And for anyone listening that's started a business, you've probably been in the same position before and you learn the most about yourself. So one of the things I want to touch on is I am a completely different person than I was 12 months ago due to the experiences I've had and again, leaning on the mentors as well. So my focus within my business at the start, it was like, I wanted to solve the problem that we have in the chiropractic space of, creating great associateships so that the chiropractor has a great career, but then also the practice can build its goals as well. So that was the start of it. But then it started to evolve more and more. I started to notice patterns. And those patterns were, there was a lot of fantastic people let's just use a chiropractor example, in a practice. But maybe they had found the wrong position where they're at. And it's not because they didn't have the skills. It's not because they weren't talented at all. It's because that they got the position, they became comfortable with it, and so did the practice. So it goes both ways. And maybe then they started to doubt themselves, leaning into a bit of the uncertainty of, maybe I do need to make a change, or I need to go to a certain seminar, get some certain advice to take myself from where I am now and all the struggles I'm having to the next level. And because I'm not a chiropractor and I'm going in and I'm speaking to people, I was able to pick up a few of these things. And I just started to suggest, a few people I knew, coaches maybe, or maybe introduce to another practice, or if they're an owner, speak to this other owner because they just went through the same issues. And I started to see that, maybe the purpose of this was just to connect people together.
Yeah.
And it's not connect for an associateship. It's just connect people in general. And at the start, I was a bit uncertain again, and that same imposter syndrome came in because I wasn't a chiropractor. What did I know? Never run a practice before. But again, I wouldn't say it's mental, but this person really helped me because they asked me a question. They said, I asked them a question. I just said, hey, how's it been working with me over the last 3 months? And that's what I have to say. And then they gave me the weirdest response. I was not prepared for it. And they said, well, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to work with you, and they said, don't take offense to this, that's because you're not a chiropractor.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean by that? And they said, because your job is going around and connecting with all these people. I wanted to see your advice from what you've seen, not what you think.
Yeah, look, I love that because for me, I would have said the same. I was going to ask you anyway.
Yeah.
From different eyes, looking outside a profession, we could call it chiropractic, but it could be any profession. There's someone outside the profession, so they're not stuck in their ways and they're looking at it with fresh eyes. You've got these useful wisdom as well, and there's such a difference between, the years of experience, but also useful wisdom. I love learning from young people and old people, and doesn't matter what age people, because I just want to be open to the learning, but a lot of people are stuck in, he doesn't have enough experience to be teaching me. But that great feedback you got from that client, practice owner, to say, I wanted someone with fresh eyes to look at it, is a great concept for people. So to turn people's power on, you could be a practice owner or you could be an employee, and you're coming in to help them connect. That's right in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And chiropractic is all about misalignment and lack of connection. So you're sort of getting an adjustment to the chiropractic professional practice. Yeah. Yeah. That's sort of what I can see from the outside. What's the name of the business?
Connect to Chiro.
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah.
I should have guessed that. No, that was for the listeners. Yeah, Chris, and you've been working with bigger practices, like smaller practices, and you're getting such amazing change and shift, and you've got a lot of connections with the students coming through. So for the students that may be listening to this, having someone of your experience that can connect with them on their level as well, being a younger man, would be just so great and dynamic. Tell me about how you've helped the students sort of step into their power.
Yeah, it's one of my passion projects, to be honest. Like when I first came into this and I saw that, there's a massive dropout rate, across Australia. I was like, man, there's some amazing people helping at different ends to help make an impact on that. But I saw that the transition from being a new grad or like being in your fifth year to then out in the profession, there's a massive gap there. I really wanted to help fill that from my third person perspective.
Yeah.
One of the most common questions I get from students is, oh, Chris, tell me if this practice is good, or tell me if this way of practicing is great. And they hate this because I always say to them, I don't know. I'm not a doc. How would I know? I'm going to help you find the tools to work out if it's right for you.
Yeah.
I'm a really big believer in if the fifth year student comes out and they have the tools to work out for this next chapter, because it'll always change, as you know, over your career, things will change as a doc. But for that first 2 years, is this something you want to step into? And does it align to your goals in what you want to do? Not just practice-wise, your personal goals as well. And I always ask, like, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to go traveling? Everyone's so different. So when I speak to the student, I'm like, you've got to work out where you want to go, and I can help facilitate that for you.
What I see, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I had to go to this one because I think is the most power you've talked about so far, is you're facilitating them to ask the right question. Does that sound right?
Summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, because that, for people that I got goosey even just hearing you say that, because I don't think there's much more powerful than that the person has to articulate or find what that right question is through in business, in life, in finances, in whatever.
So true. I could have summarized it better.
So how have you done that for people? How do you actually, what's that? Oh, we've got the big picture, but like, what's the meat of that?
Yeah. So we run workshops across Australia right now and New Zealand too, working with students on defining this. So it's not just defining how they want to practice. It's not just looking at contracts and working out what is the best for them. It's actually taking a step back as well and working out what do you want to create in your life. So taking them through a step-by-step process has provided so much clarity. Because in my opinion, from the past, when you come out of university, you don't have the life experience. A lot of people, it's their first job, like first proper job. How are you supposed to know what you're looking for? I'm really trying to bridge that gap, and I know it's so important for the practice owner as well. Because if a practice owner can find someone that completely aligns with their vision, their culture, how they communicate, where they want to go, it's a win-win for both parties. I mean, both parties are coming together, expectations are clean. And if we can do that across Australia and New Zealand, then there's more successful careers and more successful practices as well. So to answer your question, that's how I'm doing it, is through workshops, helping people one-on-one as well. Fortunately, I can't help everyone. I'm getting to that point right now, but I'm working on that in the background for the people that I can that also put their hand up as well. And again, this goes back to what we were talking about. I have so much respect. A student coming to me and going, oh, Chris, I want to be as successful as I possibly can be as a chiropractor in my first 2 years. How can we work on this?
That's great.
It's just brilliant because that shows me that's someone who's open to learning, and they're going to implement a lot of great things for the practice owner too. And if that practice owner comes to me and says, hey, Chris, I think I built a really great practice. I'm a fantastic chiropractor, but hiring someone, I haven't done that before. I've done it in the past and it didn't work out too well. I want to sit back a bit here and go, hey, can you show me how we can do it successfully? And those two parties coming together, two parties that are both open to learning, are passionate at the same things, that's where I would, leave a imprint where I can and try to connect those people up, because it is incredible to see from a third person.
I love that. On the flip side of that, I don't want to say the downside, but just the other side, if you want to call it, is the uncertainty that a lot of people have when they can even ask that question, that they're uncertain about the outcome. They're uncertain, is this going to work? And they doubt themselves. They have the imposter syndrome, like you said at the start, and uncertainty. You're so passionate and coming in at X, Y, and Z, but then the reality of people in their linear timeline is this going to work? How long is it going to take? And they start, second guessing themselves. We could call that maybe not in their full power. And we want to turn their tap on, their true aligned power on. So what would you say, how could you speak into the uncertainty of both the individuals, whether it's business owners, associates, students, or even just the uncertainty of the chiropractic profession at the moment?
Yeah, that's a huge question. I'm going to answer that from my personal experience with uncertainty, and then how I try to help students and practice owners and associates move through that. I always found that if you can find something that means more to you than anything else, that's a passion for you, which is different for everyone, that helps you in the times where you reach a wall and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to break through this. If we have a, quote unquote, higher purpose, then we are going to break through that wall. I think some examples. Firstly, for me, it was always, I was very privileged growing up. Like, I had a great relationship and still do with my mum and dad. They're still my, biggest mentors as well. And something for me was I've always wanted to help them retire. Even if they don't need it or not, I've always just wanted to give back to them, because they sacrificed a lot for me growing up and for my two brothers.
Yeah.
So anytime I step into a place that I'm uncertain, I always channel that.
Yeah.
And I share this with people, especially, students, or maybe it's a practice owner that is hiring their first associate. Oh, I think we've done everything, but I'm still a bit uncertain of this. It's looking at what the bigger picture is and what's worth leaning into that uncertainty. Because uncertainty, as you know, it can come from within us. Like, that's where it's coming from, is our inability to see the future, which we can't, and doing something that we haven't done before, pretty much there too. So when I am helping someone through this, it's looking at, hey, is there something else here? An example that just comes to mind with a practice owner was they just had their second child. And a big thing for them was, well, I want to, one, step back a little bit from practice to take care of family.
Yeah.
But also, and more important part here, is they started to reflect on, as we were discussing, that their first associateship when they came out.
Yep.
This wasn't the best entry into the profession. And, asked him more about it. And he goes, you know what? It would be fantastic to help some younger associates or new grads not experience what I experienced as well. So healing into the uncertainty of bringing on an associate, they're going to go through a lot because it's going to be very hard, as you know.
Yep.
They were channeling what that big picture was. It wasn't just to spend time with his family. It's also to keep. I've seen a massive change over the last month. We're going through everything because he can see, you know what? I'm ready now. And a great quote that I just read the other day was, life never throws anything at us that we can't handle.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, that sums up a great bit of philosophy about uncertainty. When you have that true belief that quote is true, wow, all of a sudden you step out. And I love your overview of that, stepping back up. Hey, let's look at the big picture. And there's another hurdle or another thing in the path for me to create more power, more certainty. And uncertainty is also the juice of life. Like, if everything's just calm, everything's perfect, well, it doesn't always work like that. But everyone has challenges. No matter how successful they are, how unsuccessful they are, we're all going to get challenges in this human experience.
Very true. And something that comes to mind with that actually is a big difference I've seen is working out a way to remind yourself about why you're about to lean into the uncertainty.
Yeah.
So that is a habit for me that really helps. So, I try to get uncertain every week if I can. And there's times when I'm like, oh, far out, like this feels a lot. Everyone has it. And then I always try to lean back on what is really important to me and why I'm here. whether it's helping this, student find the best job possible, whether it's helping a practice owner restructure their business. And then I'm like, okay, this is the reason why I set out to do this.
Yep.
I could fail. I could look like a bit of a nutty, but it's worth me stepping into it because I want to help everyone around me and the person in front of me as well.
Brilliant. So stepping back to the second part of my question before of the profession, the uncertainty of the profession, you're saying in what you just reflected on there, it's actually a good thing. It's a good thing for our profession, certainly. What would you say to the profession as a whole about the uncertainty of chiropractic in the way the world is right now?
Yeah, that's a big question.
And I'm going to listen to your answer. I'm not just going to ask you a question. I'm going on your feedback from before.
There is a lot of uncertainty out there. I'm going to come from it from what I see the most, where it's looking at the associateships for me. All right. So I see that because when you're a student, you go through and you learn, how to be a chiropractor. You get out and then you really learn how to be a chiropractor and you take on all the skills.
Yep.
But you're never taught how to set up the back end of business. So a lot of people have to learn that as you go. And so when it gets to the point you're looking to bring on an associate, right? You've never really been shown how to do that, especially when it comes to the hiring side or the recruitment side. In the big corporate world, there's one department that has millions of dollars in the department just to do the one thing.
Yep.
As a small business, you can't do that. And what I want to bring into this is some more certainty around it and help practice owners lean on my certainty and help students when it's their first job lean on my certainty. We've done everything we can to be able to progress forward and make it successful. So to answer your question, there's always going to be uncertainty there. Like there's no right way around it unless you've spent time in the corporate world and you've got that skill. All I'd advise is to ask another practice how they did it. Do what we said at the start and just be like, hey, I know nothing about this. Just tell me everything. If you're an associate or a student, ask other people that have gone into an associateship before you and ask what they missed, what they did really well, what's been some surprises. Let's come together. Everyone, doesn't matter how you practice, it doesn't matter where you practice. Let's learn from each other to progress the profession forwards. Maybe it's easy for me to say that because I'm not a chiropractor. I don't have any biases there. I truly think I've heard the same thing said to me from one chiropractor and another chiropractor. They both said the same thing, but if I got both of them in a room, they would not be happy with each other at all because they're completely different way of practicing.
Yeah.
But they said exactly the same thing too. They're both great people. And I really hope that I can leave something there about if we just put that aside and know that there can be two truths that are both correct, we will do better. And the more successful practices, it doesn't matter how you operate, but they're out in Australia, the better everyone will be.
Yep, like that. I'm going to take it back even a higher view than that and coming out of the chiropractic profession. Yeah. Because chiropractic we're using as the example here. Just for I'm a chiro, you work with chiropractors. But this same principle's got to apply just to small business in general, doesn't it? The small business principles you're talking about, and you don't know everything, you don't know all areas. And there's the stats in Australia for the number of businesses that are successful in 12 months or 5 years is pretty shocking. I think in 5 years it's 80% or under or something. Well, it's one maybe high, I don't even know. And whereas the big corporates have those specialized areas, the small business, mum and dad business has got to do all of the things. So applying some of the principles we've covered today, like getting the mentor, finding the mentor, listening to the mentor, acting on what the mentor says, are really simple processes, but can truly turn your power on in business. And again, higher perspective as well, not just business, in life.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair summary of what we've covered so far?
100%.
I love it. All right. So what we'll do in sort of closing out this session today, mate, because I've loved having you on the show, and I think it's great for the listeners to hear different perspectives. I'd love you to share some just overriding wisdom. We've talked about, in the previous podcast, even giving yourself permission, like allowing yourself to go for it. We've talked today about uncertainty. What would you say for the listeners, like as a listener tuning in now that might want to hear some summarized or some new wisdom? What have you got for our listener to turn their power on?
Yeah, love it. I don't know if you've done this in previous podcasts. I didn't check it with you before, but letting go.
Oh, beautiful.
Letting go. And I'd love to hear your opinion on this too. That letting go for me changed my life as well. And I learned that from mentors. They really helped me with that. But really letting go of the story that I was telling myself 5 to 6 years ago that I wasn't good enough, that, even going back to childhood, we all carry things through our childhood up to our adult years. And, the stories I used to tell myself then carried through my professional life. And that I didn't know the answers, that even, everyone got picked on when they were younger as well. You carry that energy with you. As soon as I started to consciously let go, and everyone does that differently, and I'd love to hear your opinion in a moment, it changed my life. Because now if someone says to me, hey, what you're doing now, you're starting your business, it's not going to work out, or maybe it's some sort of negative criticism about myself or the business, I have a resource or a method to be able to let that go so I can continue carrying out for the people in front of me with my pure love and intention of wanting to help them without holding that baggage. What's your thoughts on that? I know you had plenty of wisdom on this, and I'd love to learn something here too.
Look, I truly love that concept, and letting go isn't, again, a learnt skill. It's something a lot of people, I'll say myself even, hold on, and you don't realize you're holding on. You don't realize it until you go, God, why am I holding on to that? And there's so many different analogies. This is a weird one that's came to mind, so I'm going to share a bowel motion. All right. If you don't let that go, you'll be full of shit. All right. So in letting go, it might be holding on to something, a belief you have, and a belief that, I've got to do everything in the business or it won't be successful. So to let go of that and go, wow, I've got to allow a HR support person in this example we've used today, just releases you. It releases you from the things you don't need to be doing. And maybe I'm even that good at.
Yeah.
That's I know it all and I've got to fix it all myself. People that have the biggest difficulty letting go that I've observed. And there's facets of all of us that hold on to stuff. So if you use the bowel motion analogy, that would be crazy to hold on to something you really don't need, or you're going to end up full of shit.
Yeah.
Let's go with that as my wonderful wisdom today.
I'm gonna borrow that. That's a good one because everyone can understand that straight away.
Yes, they can.
It's so true.
Yeah, awesome. All right, mate. Look, it's funny as great having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for stepping into a profession that needs, I believe, this area of help. I think you're doing an amazing job. If someone is listening to this show and wants to find you, how are they going to find you, Chris?
Yeah, the best place to find me is on Instagram or Facebook, or you can visit my website. It's just www.connectyourchiro.com.au. And I wanted to say as well, thank you so much for having me on. It's an absolute privilege. Say thank you. And the work that you're doing here as well is so important. And I know that we've shared a few things about the importance of learning and asking questions. You've been a life coach yourself too. You've probably experienced so many times and helped so many people through that. So I just wanted to say on here as well, if anyone is questioning where they're at, I wanted to recommend to reach out to you because in the small amount of time we've known each other, which is not a long time at all, you've dropped so much wisdom for me as well. So I appreciate it, Tony. It's going to be awesome to get this podcast out more and help more people.
Yeah, thanks, mate. All right. So for the listeners, thanks once again for tuning in. Have an awesome day. See ya.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Realms of Power. I have such gratitude for your time and energy and the vision to join us with turning your true aligned power on. To take your power up another level, you could share this episode with someone who you think would benefit, or make a comment online that would help us get this information out there. We'd really appreciate your love and support. Hope you have an awesome day. See ya.